Stop looking for permission. Billionaires don't ask, they decide. Here is the truth no one tells you. Wealth is not a reward for hard work. It is a mathematical consequence of leverage and mindset. You have been trained to trade time for money. That is the poverty loop. The billionaire mindset rejects that loop. It treats time as the only asset, ego as the enemy, and problems as the product. In the next hour, I am going to dismantle your limiting beliefs and reprogram your operating system. You will not just learn what billionaires think. You will learn the daily, repetitive actions they execute while you sleep. Are you ready to stop proving and start building? Then listen closely. This is your reset. Chapter 1. Stop proving and start doing. Listen to me closely. You are wasting your life on a useless activity. It's not scrolling your phone. It's not sleeping in. It is proving. Every day you wake up and you try to prove something. You prove you are smart. You prove you are likable. You prove you deserve a seat at the table. You prove your ex was wrong. You prove your parents should be proud. And while you are busy proving, billionaires are doing. Here is the brutal truth. No one is watching your performance as closely as you think. The promotion you want? It does not go to the person who proves they are worthy. It goes to the person who builds something undeniable. The deal you want? It does not close because you explained yourself perfectly. It closes because you provided value first. You have a choice. Keep auditioning for a role that no one is casting. Or step onto the stage and direct your own play. The trap. Proving is a drug. It feels productive. You update your LinkedIn. You craft the perfect email. You rehearse what you will say in the meeting. That is not action. That is anxiety dressed up as effort. Billionaires don't ask for permission because they understand a simple law. Permission is a myth. The only permission you need is the laws of physics and your own bank account. Everything else is noise. Think about Elon Musk. When he stood on a stage and said he would land a rocket on a drone ship in the ocean, the entire world laughed. Did he stop to prove them wrong? No. He went back to the factory and built a better rocket. He let the results do the talking. That is the key. The amateur says, "Let me explain why I am right." The billionaire says, "Watch." You don't need their permission. You never did. That boss who scares you? He is just a person with a budget. That investor you want to impress? She is looking for a signal, not a sales pitch. The signal is action, not explanation. The real-world example. Let me give you a concrete story. Two people want to start a coaching business. Person A spends 6 months designing a logo, building a website, writing a manifesto, and asking friends for feedback. They are proving they are a real business. Person B records a video on their phone tomorrow, posts it on social media, and offers free calls to 3 strangers. They are doing. Who gets paid first? Person B, every single time. Because the market does not care about your logo. The market cares about your solution. You can have the ugliest website in history. If you solve a problem, money will find you. And the opposite is also true. You can have $1 million brand identity. If you haven't delivered value, you are bankrupt. That is the poverty loop. Proving before producing. Explaining before executing. Asking for permission before taking a risk. You have a choice right now. Stay in that loop or break it. The repetitive command. Here is your new mantra. Say it out loud. Don't tell me, show me. Say it again. Don't tell me, show me. Every time you catch yourself preparing to prove something, to justify, to defend, to impress, you stop. You ask yourself one question. Is this action moving money, time, or leverage toward my goal? If the answer is no, you delete it. You do not explain your side hustle to your skeptical uncle. You do not post a long status update about your struggles. You do not send a "just following up" email for the 4th time. You work. You ship. You repeat. The specific action for tonight. I am going to give you a direct instruction. Write this down. Identify one thing you have been proving for more than 2 weeks. Maybe it is a business idea you keep telling friends about. Maybe it is a fitness goal you keep posting about. Maybe it is a relationship you keep explaining. Now, delete the proving mechanism. Stop talking about it. Stop posting about it. Stop asking for opinions. And replace that time with 1 hour of raw, ugly, imperfect action. Write the first page. Make the first call. Build the first prototype. It will be bad. That is fine. Because here is the secret billionaires know. The first version is always embarrassing. The 10th version is competitive. The 100th version is dominant. You cannot get to 100 without surviving the embarrassment of 1. It is not about being ready. It is about starting. It is not about their approval. It is about your momentum. The transition. You have just learned to kill the need to prove. You are going to wake up tomorrow and feel the urge to explain yourself. That urge is a test. Fail it and you stay average. Pass it and you take the first step toward the billionaire mindset. But proving is only the first enemy. There is a second enemy, quieter and more expensive. It is the addiction to validation, and it is silently draining your bank account while you sleep. You mastered the urge to explain. Now, let's talk about the cost of craving a compliment. Chapter 2. The silent cost of seeking validation. You just learned to stop proving. Good. But proving is the loud enemy. Validation is the silent one. And it is far more dangerous. Because proving is something you do. Validation is something you crave. And a craving can be exploited. Every time you check how many likes your post got, every time you dress a certain way to fit in, every time you stay quiet in a meeting because you don't want to sound stupid, every time you buy a car you cannot afford because you want the neighbor to see it. That is the validation tax, and you are paying it every single day. Billionaires do not pay that tax. They collect it. They sell you the validation you crave. They do not consume it themselves. The hidden tax. Let me break this down mathematically. Your income is determined by the value you provide. Your expenses are determined by the lifestyle you want to signal. The gap between those two things is your stress. Most people work hard to increase income. Smart. But they also increase their expenses every time income goes up because they want to look successful. New watch, new car, new house, new restaurants. That is not success. That is a costume. A billionaire could buy a private jet tomorrow. Many do. But the ones who stay billionaires, the ones who think like billionaires, ask a different question. Does this purchase buy me time? Does it buy me leverage? Or does it buy me a fleeting moment of someone else's envy? You have a choice. You can continue to trade your future for a stranger's fleeting approval, or you can become invisible to the crowd and visible to the opportunity. The real-world cost. Consider this. Two professionals earn the same salary, $80,000 a year. Professional A buys a $50,000 car on a 6-year loan. Professional B buys a $10,000 used car and invests the difference. After 10 years, Professional A has a car worth $5,000 and no savings. Professional B has a portfolio worth over $100,000. Who looks richer? Professional A for about 6 months. Who is richer? Professional B forever. That is the silent cost. It is not just money. It is opportunity. Every dollar you spend to impress someone else is a dollar you cannot spend to buy your freedom. And make no mistake, the people you are trying to impress, they are not paying your bills. They are not waking up with your anxiety. They are not lying in your bed at night. You are performing for an audience that does not care. The billionaire difference. Let me tell you about the real mindset. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he bought in 1958. He drives a Cadillac, but only because it is practical. He does not seek validation from Wall Street analysts. He seeks returns. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray t-shirt every day, not because he lacks fashion sense, because he refuses to waste decision-making energy on validation. That is the key. Validation is a distraction. Every time you worry about what someone thinks, you are stealing focus from what matters, and focus is the only thing that compounds. You don't need their permission to be weird. You need their attention to sell. And you do not get attention by fitting in. You get attention by standing out. But standing out is not the same as seeking approval. Standing out is a strategy. Seeking approval is a sickness. The repetitive phrase. Here is your new filter. Say this every morning. Their opinion of me is none of my business. Again, their opinion of me is none of my business. If you truly believed that, what would change? You would stop checking your post metrics. You would stop apologizing for your ambition. You would stop buying things you cannot afford. You would stop shrinking in meetings. You would become dangerous. Because a person who does not care about approval cannot be controlled. And a person who cannot be controlled is free. And freedom, not money, is the real goal of the billionaire mindset. The specific action for tomorrow.
I want you to do something uncomfortable. Identify the single biggest source of external validation in your life. It might be Instagram. It might be a group chat where you chase laughs. It might be a family member whose praise you desperately want. Now, cut it off. For 7 days. Delete the app. Mute the chat. Stop calling that person for reassurance. Notice what happens. The first 2 days you will feel anxious. That is withdrawal. The next 5 days you will feel quiet. That is freedom. And on day 7, you will realize something. The world kept spinning. No one died. And you got more work done than in the previous month. That is the proof. Not their validation, your results. The transition. You have stopped proving. You have stopped seeking validation. Now you have 2 enemies down. But there is a third enemy even more precious. It is the only asset you cannot earn back. You have learned to ignore their opinions. Now, let's talk about the one thing you cannot afford to waste.
Chapter 3. Time is your only non-renewable asset. You can make more money. You can rebuild a reputation. You can buy new things. But you cannot make more time. Every second that passes is gone forever. You will never get it back. Not with technology, not with prayer, not with regret. And yet most people treat time as if it is infinite. They scroll, they wait, they catch up. They sit in traffic complaining. They attend meetings that could have been emails. They watch shows they do not even like. That is not relaxation. That is robbery. You are robbing yourself. A billionaire understands a simple equation. Your net worth is not a function of how hard you work. It is a function of how well you leverage your time. If you work 80 hours a week but waste 60 of them on low-value activity, you are poorer than a person who works 20 focused hours. It is not about busy. It is about effective. The calendar audit. Here is your first directive. Tonight, you will open your calendar or your phone's screen time report. You will look at the last 7 days, and you will ask one brutal question for every hour. Did this hour move me closer to my financial or personal freedom? If the answer is no, that hour is dead. You killed it, and you cannot revive it. I want you to tally the dead hours. Be honest. Most people will find 40 to 50 dead hours in a single week. That is 2 full days. Every week. Over a year, that is more than 100 days of your life. Gone. You have a choice. You can continue to bleed time on autopilot, or you can become a miser of minutes. The Buffett Rule. Warren Buffett taught his pilot a famous lesson. The pilot wanted to know how to achieve his goals. Buffett said, "Write down your top 25 career goals. Then circle the 5 most important. Then, and this is the key, avoid the other 20 at all costs. Not work on them later. Not get to them eventually. Avoid them completely." Why? Because the 20 non-essential goals are the silent assassins. They feel important. They feel productive. But they are distractions from the 5 that actually change your life. Most people fail not because they do too little. They fail because they do too much. They spread their attention across 20 things and master none. The billionaire focuses on 3 to 5 levers and pulls them every single day.
That is the key. Elimination is a superpower. The real-world example. Let me give you a concrete case. Two entrepreneurs want to grow their online business. Entrepreneur A spends time on learning SEO, posting on Instagram, answering every email, redesigning the logo, attending networking events, and reading business books. Busy, exhausted, broke. Entrepreneur B does three things: creates one piece of content daily, sends 5 direct outreach messages, and improves the product based on customer feedback. That is it. No logo, no networking events, no books except the one they are writing. Who wins? Entrepreneur B. Every time. Because they rejected the noise. They said no to 20 distractions so they could say yes to 3 levers. The repetitive phrase. Here is your new rule. Say this aloud every morning. If it isn't a hell yes for my goals, it is a hell no. Again, if it isn't a hell yes, it is a hell no. You do not attend the meeting because you feel obligated. You do not answer the text because you feel rude. You do not scroll because you feel bored. You protect your time like a soldier protects ammunition, because time is your ammunition, and you are at war with entropy. The specific action for tonight. I want you to perform a deletion ritual. Open your calendar for next week. Find 3 commitments that are not a hell yes. Cancel them, politely, firmly, without a 5-paragraph explanation. I am unable to attend. That is a complete sentence. Then open your phone. Delete 3 apps that steal the most time. Games, social media, news. Gone. Then set a daily focus block. 2 hours, same time every day. During that block, your phone is on airplane mode. Your door is closed. Your only job is the single most important task for your goals. 1 task, 2 hours. No interruptions. Do this for 7 days. On day 8, you will feel a discomfort. That is the feeling of unused potential finally being directed. Lean into it. The transition. You have stopped proving. You have stopped seeking validation. You have started guarding your time like a hawk. 3 enemies down. But there is a 4th enemy, one that lives inside your own chest. It feels ugly. It feels shameful. And it is the most powerful compass you have ever ignored. You have learned to protect your hours. Now, let's talk about the green-eyed monster and why you should thank it.
Chapter 4. Envy is data, not a sin. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When you see someone who has what you want, more money, more freedom, more respect, what is your first feeling? If you are honest, it is envy. A sharp, hot pinch in your chest. And then, what do? You feel guilty. You tell yourself you should be grateful. You look away. You scroll past. You numb the feeling with junk food or junk content. That is a tragedy, because that hot pinch of envy is not a sin. It is a signal. It is your internal GPS saying, that way, go that way. Billionaires do not run from envy. They interrogate it. The reframe here is the shift you need to make. Envy is not the problem. Suppressing envy is the problem. When you bury envy, you bury your ambition along with it. Instead, when you feel envy, you stop. You take a breath and you ask 3 questions out loud. 1. What exactly does this person have that I want? 2. What did they do to get it? 3.
What am I unwilling to do that they were willing to do? That third question is the killer. Because most of the time, the gap between you and the person you envy is not luck. It is not talent. It is willingness. They were willing to look stupid. They were willing to work weekends. They were willing to risk failure. They were willing to be disliked. You were not. That is not a judgment. That is data. The real-world example. Think about a fitness transformation. You see a photo online of someone who lost 50 pounds. You feel envy. Then you learn they worked out every single day at 5 a.m. They tracked every calorie. They said no to alcohol for 6 months. Are you willing to do that? If yes, then your envy is just a reminder. If no, then your envy is honest. Stop wanting the result without the price. The same applies to wealth. You envy an entrepreneur who sold their company for $10 million. Then you learn they almost went bankrupt twice. They lost their marriage. They worked 80-hour weeks for a decade. Are you willing to pay that price? If yes, start today. If no, stop envying. Either pay the price or make peace with the lack of results. That is the key. Envy is not a demand for fairness. It is a demand for action. The repetitive phrase, here's your new mantra. Repeat it when envy strikes. Don't curse the competition. Copy their moves. Again, don't curse. Copy. Cursing is passive. Copying is active. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. You need to see what works, adapt it to your context, and execute with more intensity. The specific action for tomorrow. I want you to write down 3 people you envy. Real people or public figures. Next to each name, write 3 specific actions they took to get where they are. You will have to research. Do not guess. Find the actual steps. Then, choose one action from the list, the smallest one, and do it tomorrow. Not next week. Tomorrow. If you envy someone's writing, write 1 page. If you envy their business, make 1 sales call. If you envy their discipline, wake up 1 hour earlier. The envy will not disappear, but it will transform. It will become fuel instead of poison. The transition. You have learned to read envy as a map. Good. Now you have a destination. But knowing where to go is not enough. You need to know what to build when you get there. You have stopped proving, seeking validation, wasting time, and ignoring envy. Now, let's talk about the only thing that pays. Chapter 5. Solve a screaming problem. Get screaming returns. You want to know why you are not rich yet? It is not because you are unlucky. It is not because you are uneducated. It is because you are solving the wrong problems. Look at what you spend your day on. Updating spreadsheets, answering emails, organizing files, attending meetings. These are tasks. They are not problems. A problem is something that makes a person scream at 2 a.m. A problem is a business that is losing customers. A problem is a relationship falling apart. A problem is a leak in the roof during a storm. The bigger the scream, the bigger the check. Billionaires do not build what is nice to have. They build what is must have. They build painkillers, not vitamins. The scream test. Here is your first instruction. For the next 7 days, you will listen for complaints. Not to be negative, to be rich. Your spouse complains about the dishwasher breaking. That is a problem. Your boss complains about the slow reporting process. That is a problem. Your friend complains about not finding a decent plumber. That is a problem. Every complaint is a business opportunity wearing a whiny disguise. Most people hear a complaint and nod sympathetically. The billionaire hears a complaint and asks, "How do I solve this for 1,000 people?" And then they charge money for the solution. That is the key. Money is just stored problem solving. The more problems you solve, the more money you store. The real-world example. Consider Uber. Before Uber, getting a taxi was a screaming problem. You stood in the rain. You called a dispatcher who was rude. You never knew when the car would arrive. The problem screamed. Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp solved it. Now they are billionaires. Consider Airbnb. Before Airbnb, finding affordable accommodation in a popular city was a screaming problem. Hotels were expensive. Hostels were crowded. The problem screamed. Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia solved it. Now they are billionaires. Your problem does not have to be global. It just has to be real. A local problem like reliable dog walking or tax preparation for freelancers can make you a millionaire in your town. Stop trying to save the world. Start trying to save a Tuesday. The repetitive phrase, here is your new filter. Say this every morning. If it doesn't hurt, it doesn't pay. Again, if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't pay. Comfortable problems pay comfortable wages. Painful problems pay fortunes. You have a choice. You can build a business that is easy and compete with 1,000,000 other easy businesses. Or you can build a business that is hard and become the only solution. The specific action for this week. I want you to carry a small notebook or open a note on your phone. For 7 days, every time you hear a complaint, write it down. Your own complaints count, too. At the end of the week, look at the list. Circle the complaint that appears most frequently. That is your market. That is the scream. Then answer 3 questions. 1. Can I solve this for one person in the next 48 hours? 2. Can I solve this for 10 people in the next month? 3. Can I charge money for the solution on day 1? If the answer to all 3 is yes, you have your next project. Start with one person. Do it free. Learn. Then charge the next person. The transition. You have learned to find the scream. Now you have a problem to solve. But you cannot solve it if you are drowning in distractions. You need a new word. The most powerful word in the billionaire's vocabulary. You have stopped proving, seeking validation, wasting time, ignoring envy, and solving small problems. Now, let's talk about the art of refusal. Chapter 6. Say no. 99 times to say yes. Once you're going to hear a lot of opportunities. People will invite you to coffee. They will ask for your advice. They will want you to join their project. They will offer you a quick call. And you will want to say yes because you are nice, because you are curious, because you are afraid of missing out. That is the death of the billionaire mindset. Every yes is a contract. Every yes takes time. Every yes dilutes your focus. And a diluted focus cannot build anything massive. The billionaire says no by default. Yes is exceptional. Yes is rare. Yes is a sacred weapon used only when the return on time is 10 times the alternative. The filter. Here is your new operating system. Before you say yes to anything, you run it through 3 filters. Filter 1. Does this directly move my top 3 goals forward? If no, no. Filter 2. Can someone else do this for less than my hourly rate? If yes, delegate or decline. Filter 3. Would I pay $1,000 to attend this meeting or call? If no, no. You will be surprised. 99 out of 100 requests fail these filters. That is not rude. That is efficient. You are not a community resource. You are a wealth creator. The real-world example. Steve Jobs was famous for his brutal nose. When he returned to Apple, he killed dozens of products. The company was making printers, cameras, gaming consoles. Jobs said no to all of them. He focused on 4 products. 1 consumer desktop, one professional desktop, one consumer laptop, one professional laptop. That focus saved Apple. That focus created the iPhone. That focus made him a legend. What if Jobs had said yes to every interesting idea? Apple would be a graveyard of mediocre gadgets. And you would not be listening to this audiobook. You have a choice. You can be liked and scattered, or you can be respected and focused. The repetitive phrase. Here is your script. When someone asks for your time, you say these exact words. That is not a priority right now.
No explanation, no apology, no softening. That is not a priority right now. If they push, you repeat the exact same phrase. Do not add new words. Do not justify. Do not negotiate. The second time you say it, they will understand. The third time, they will respect it. The specific action for tomorrow. Look at your calendar for the next 7 days. Identify every single commitment that is not a hell yes. Now, cancel it. You will use the phrase, "That is not a priority right now." You will lose some people. Some will be offended. That is a sign you are doing it correctly. The people who are offended by your boundaries are the ones who benefited from your lack of them. Then, look at the empty space you just created. Do not fill it. Leave it empty. Use it for deep work, rest, or strategic thinking. Empty space is not wasted space. It is leverage space. The transition. You have learned to say no. Now you have time and focus. But you still have a limit. You are one person. One person can only do so much. To think like a billionaire, you need to escape the solo trap. You have mastered refusal. Now, let's talk about the force multiplier that separates the wealthy from the exhausted. Chapter 7. Leverage other people's energy. You have stopped proving. You have stopped seeking validation. You have protected your time. You have used envy as a compass. You have found a screaming problem. You have said no to distractions. You are focused. And you are still broke. Why? Because you are doing it all yourself. The solo hero is a myth. A beautiful, seductive, bankrupting myth. One person working 24 hours a day makes 24 hours of impact. A leader of 10 people makes 240 hours of impact. A leader of 100 makes 2,400 hours. That is leverage. That is the billionaire's secret. They do not work harder, they work through others. The fear. I know what you are thinking. No one can do it as well as me. Exactly. That is why you are stuck. You have confused quality with scale. Listen to me. 80% quality at 10 times the volume beats 100% quality at solo volume every single day of the week. Because the market does not need perfection. The market needs a solution that works well enough, consistently, at scale. You have a choice. You can polish your single stone until it shines like a diamond, or you can train 10 people to polish 10 stones. The 10 stones build a castle. The one diamond sits in a drawer. The real-world example. Look at any franchise. McDonald's does not have the best hamburger. Far from it. But they have the best system for delivering a consistent hamburger at scale. That system uses thousands of employees, suppliers, and franchisees. That is leverage. Look at any content creator who blew up. They did not edit every video, answer every comment, and manage every sponsor. They hired an editor, a community manager, and a salesperson. They exchanged money for time. And then they used that time to create more leverage. That is the flywheel. Money buys time. Time buys more leverage. More leverage buys more money. The repetitive phrase. Here is your new law. Say this until it hurts. Your ego is expensive. Hire help. Again. Your ego is expensive. Hire help. If you cannot afford to hire full-time, hire freelance. If you cannot afford a freelancer, trade services. If you cannot trade, automate. But do not do it yourself. The first thing you delegate is the task you hate most. Not the easiest, the one that drains your soul. Because that task is not just costing you time, it is costing you emotional energy. And emotional energy is the raw material of creativity. The specific action for this week. Identify one task you have done 3 times in the last month that you despise. It could be bookkeeping. It could be scheduling. It could be cleaning. It could be customer service emails. Now, go to a freelance platform or a virtual assistant service. Post a job for that specific task. Budget $50 or $100. Hire someone to do it this week. The first time you pay someone, you will feel guilty. You will think you could have done it yourself for free. That guilt is the poverty mindset screaming its last breath. Ignore it. Let them do the task. It will be imperfect. That is fine. Next time, they will be better. And you will have used that hour to work on the 20% of tasks that only you can do. The transition. You have learned to leverage others. Now you have more time and more output. But you are still afraid of one thing: losing money. That fear is the final chain. You have mastered delegation. Now, let's talk about why losing money is the fastest way to win. Chapter 8. Lose money fast to learn faster. You are afraid. Admit it. The thought of losing $1,000 makes your stomach clench. The thought of losing $10,000 makes you sweat. The thought of losing everything keeps you up at night. That fear is rational, and it is also the anchor that keeps you in the harbor. Billionaires do not fear losing money. They fear not learning, because money lost can be earned back. But a lesson learned in a small failure can prevent a catastrophic failure later. They call it tuition. You call it a mistake. Change the label. Change the emotion. The tuition mindset. Here is the shift. Every time you lose money on an investment, a business experiment, or a bad hire, you say one sentence: that was the cost of the lesson. Then you ask, what did I learn? And you write it down.
and you never make that exact mistake again. That is the key. The amateur repeats the same loss. The professional pays tuition once. Most people never start because they are terrified of the first loss. So they stay in the job they hate. They keep the side hustle as a fantasy. They let their savings sit in a bank account earning 0% while inflation eats it alive. That is not safety. That is slow death. The stupid tax budget. I am going to give you a specific number. You will open a separate account or envelope. You will put in it an amount you can afford to lose completely. If you have $10,000 saved, put in $1,000. If you have $1,000, put in $100. This is your stupid tax budget. It is not for bills. It is not for groceries. It is for experiments that might fail. Every month, you will use some of this money to try something stupid. A small business idea, a new marketing channel, a piece of equipment, a course, a mentor. If it works, you scale it with real money. If it fails, you say, "That was tuition," and move on. No shame, no guilt, no all-night rumination. The real-world example. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, says her father used to ask her and her brother every week, "What did you fail at this week?" If they had no answer, he was disappointed, because no failure meant no risk. No risk meant no growth. That is the billionaire family mindset. They celebrate the failure that taught a lesson. They punish the inaction that taught nothing. Think about every successful person you admire. They have a graveyard of failed businesses, bad investments, and humiliating losses. The only difference between you and them is that they kept going. They paid tuition. You are still waiting for a guarantee. There is no guarantee. There is only probability, and probability favors the person who runs more experiments. The repetitive phrase. Here is your new mantra for every loss. That was the cost of the lesson. What is the next move? Do not ask, "Why me?" Do not ask, "How could I be so stupid?" Ask, "What is the next move?" Because the past is gone. The money is gone. The only thing that remains is the lesson and the future. Focus on the future. The specific action for tomorrow. Take your stupid tax budget. Use 10% of it to run one small experiment within 48 hours. Buy a small ad. Hire a freelancer for a test project. Purchase a domain and hosting for a niche website. Invest in a low-cost stock or cryptocurrency you have researched. You will very likely lose that 10%. Good. That is the point. Feel the loss. Notice that you did not die. Your family still loves you. The sun still rises. Then, write down exactly what you learned and plan the next experiment. Faster. The transition. You have learned to lose without losing yourself. Now you have no more excuses, no fear of proving, no validation craving, no time waste, no envy suppression, no small problems, no scattered yeses, no solo work, no fear of loss. There is only one thing left: action. You have paid your tuition. Now, let's talk about why waiting for perfect is the most expensive habit of all. Chapter 9. Execute before you are ready. You have no excuses left. None. You know what to stop. You know what to start. You have the tools, you have the mindset, and you are still waiting. Waiting for the right moment, waiting for more confidence, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting for someone to give you a sign. Stop. Ready is a myth. It does not exist. No billionaire ever felt ready. They felt terrified. They felt underqualified. They felt like imposters. And they launched anyway. Because waiting does not make you ready. Action makes you ready. The messy launch. Here is the truth every successful person knows but rarely admits. The first version is always embarrassing. Your first business will be ugly. Your first video will be awkward. Your first product will have bugs. Your first sales call will stumble. That is not a failure. That is the price of entry. The billionaire does not wait for the perfect product. They launch a minimum viable product. They listen to feedback. They improve. They launch again, and again, and again. Perfectionism is not a virtue. It is a shield that protects you from the terror of being seen. But you cannot be paid if you cannot be seen. The real-world example. Amazon started as a website selling books from a garage. It was not beautiful. It was not Amazon Prime. It was not AWS. It was a messy, limited, barely functional online bookstore.
If Jeff Bezos had waited until he had the infrastructure of today's Amazon, he would still be waiting. He launched. He learned. He iterated. He dominated. Your idol started messy. Your hero started scared. Your benchmark started imperfect. The only difference between you and them is that they started. And you are still reading another book, watching another video, attending another webinar. The repetitive phrase. Here is your new commandment. Done is better than perfect. Always. Again. Done is better than perfect. Always. You do not need a business plan. You need a business. You do not need a brand. You need a customer. You do not need a strategy. You need a single, ugly, imperfect step. The specific action within 24 hours. I'm giving you a deadline. Within 24 hours from now, you will launch the thing you have been hiding. What is the thing? You know. It is the idea you tell yourself, maybe someday. The call you have been avoiding. The website you have been designing in your head. The conversation you owe yourself. Launch it. And it will be ugly. The logo will be wrong. The timing will be off. You will misspell something. Someone will be confused. That is the point. You are not launching for applause. You are launching to learn. And you cannot learn from a product that exists only in your mind. So write the post, send the email, make the call, record the video, sell the service, ask for the money. Do it badly. Do it scared. Do it now. The transition. You have launched. It was ugly. You survived. Now comes the part that separates the one-hit wonders from the billionaires. You have executed before you were ready. Now, let's talk about the boring, brutal secret that makes it all work. Chapter 10. The fortune is in the repetition. You have done it. You have run the gauntlet. You stopped proving. You killed validation. You protected your time. You listened to envy. You found a scream. You said no.
You leveraged others. You lost money. You launched messy. And now you are tired. You want the secret hack that will make it easy. You want the magic bullet that will skip the grind. There is none. The fortune is not in the launch. The fortune is in the repetition. The daily, boring, unsexy, relentless repetition of the same 5 disciplines. Day after day, week after week, year after year. The boring secret. Here is what most people never accept. Success is not an event. It is a calendar. It is showing up on Tuesday when you don't feel like it. It is making the sales call when you are already tired. It is improving the product by 1% when no one is watching. Billionaires do not have a different set of habits. They have the same habits, executed with boring consistency for a very long time. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And systems are just repetition with a name. The 5 levers. Let me summarize the 5 disciplines you have learned. Write them down. 1. Stop proving. Start doing. Every day. 2. Say no to validation. Say yes to value. Every day. 3. Audit your time. Eliminate dead hours. Every day. 4. Solve screaming problems. Ignore the rest. Every day. 5. Execute before ready. Then repeat. Every day. That is it. There is no number 6. There is no secret ingredient. There is only the choice to repeat these 5 levers until the compound interest does its work. The trap of shiny objects. You will be tempted. After a few weeks of repetition, you will get bored. You will read about a new strategy, a new app, a new guru, a new hack. That is the trap. The billionaire ignores the shiny object. They run their playbook. They trust the process. They know that changing direction every month is the same as standing still. You have a choice. You can chase dopamine from the next breakthrough, or you can chase the quiet satisfaction of a system that works. The repetitive phrase. Set an alarm on your phone. Every morning at the same time. The alarm label should say, "What did I repeat yesterday? What will I repeat today?" Ask yourself that question. Answer it honestly. Then do the work. Because the fortune is not in the idea, it is in the repetition. The first time you say no to a distraction, it feels hard. The 100th time, it is reflex. The 1,000th time, it is identity. The final action. I want you to do one thing before this audiobook ends. Take a single index card. Write down your 5 daily disciplines. Your version, not mine. For example, 1. 1 hour of deep work before checking email. 2. 5 outreach messages to potential customers. 3. Delegate 1 task I hate. 4. Say no to 1 request. 5. Review yesterday's loss for 1 lesson. Put that card where you will see it every morning. Your bathroom mirror, your keyboard, your coffee maker. And then, for the next 90 days,
You do not change the card. You do not add a sixth item. You do not search for a better system. You repeat the 5 every single day. After 90 days, you will not be a billionaire, but you will think like one. And thinking like one is the only path to becoming one. The closing transition. You have the map. You have the weapons. You have the repetition. Now, listen to the final minute. This is not a summary. This is a command. So here is where you stand. You have heard the truths that most people run from. Stop proving and start doing. Cut the cost of validation. Treat time like a killer. Use envy as your map. Solve screaming problems. Say no until it hurts. Steal other people's energy. Lose money to learn. Launch before you are ready. And then repeat, repeat, repeat. There is no secret door. There is only the boring, brutal, beautiful discipline of the billionaire mindset. The world will try to pull you back into average. Your friends will call you obsessed. Your fear will whisper, tomorrow. You have a choice right now. You can close this video and go back to trading hours for dollars, seeking approval from ghosts. Or you can take one single action in the next 60 seconds. Pause this video right now. Write down one chapter, just one, and execute it before you sleep. Do not think. Do not plan. Do not prove anything to anyone. Act. The billionaire mindset is not an inheritance. It is a decision. Decide now. Close the gap. I will see you at the top.